Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Real Estate America's Newsroom. It is the 21st of June in the year of our Lord 2022. Did you know that in January of this year, 33% of all homes were purchased by investors? Interesting. We're going to go ahead and figure that out. Southern California housing market looks to be cooling off a little bit. Red flag warning, ladies and gentlemen. Red flag warning all the way up the pole. Mortgage news and appraiser news with Captain Kirk Jaffe and Mark Bueller. 20% of millionaires in the United States think inflation is going to last more than 2 years. And Bill Gates is one of the largest farmers in the United States of America. I did not know that, right? So that's interesting. I didn't know he was such a farming enthusiast. Before we get going any further, I'm going to introduce my esteemed and illustrious co-host, Mr. Nick Sakis. How are you doing today, sir?
Wait a minute. Did you say Bill Gates is the largest farm owner in the country?
I think he likes farming. Maybe it's a hobby.
Wow, that's really strange.
I wonder if he milks cows. Maybe. If he does, maybe I should have a milk off with him.
The people are going to have to wait till the end of the show to find out, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Since that is our last segment.
That's a challenge from old Sarge in the newsroom. Maybe Bill Gates is listening and would like to do a milk off on one of his farms. That would be interesting. So,
oh man,
that's how today is going to go, ladies and gentlemen. And we didn't go ahead and do an intro for this show because apparently Facebook didn't like it, didn't like the music.
No.
Free royalty.
I've been yelling at Jake to get rid of the intro. So put in the comments below if you like it. If you're scrolling through this and you see us talking and not music playing, let me know if you like it, because me and Jake have been battling behind the scenes for a while.
Well, Nick got his wish, ladies and gentlemen. No more 1 minute long news intro for social media. And that was just for social media, but social media doesn't like it anymore. So,
yeah.
Nick, 33% of homes were purchased by investors. So says a big report in January of this year.
Yep. I think we've been covering this for a while, right? It's an interesting edge, right? The stock market's collapsing, then crypto started collapsing. People were looking for a place to put their money, and I think there was a big surge into rental portfolios, and so it doesn't surprise me at all that number came back in January at 33%. I think we're starting to see that cool down a little bit now, but it explains a lot.
Nick, I was searching around for different news clips to go ahead and bring into the show, and I found something that was extremely interesting. I saw a guy on YouTube catching snakes, and I've never ever in my whole entire life saw a guy do something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I just have to show you here. Check this out.
4, 5. Here's 6. One of our milk snakes, dude. There's one of the milks. Look at that. You got it?
Yep.
Hang on, what else we got? Oh, blue racer. Here's a blue racer. What's down inside here? All right, well, that right there. Hey, you biting me, buddy?
Yeah, you think?
Dude.
Hey, you bite him?
So wait a minute. Is this like an inside joke or something? Last time you posted a video about a guy gliding in one of those suits, which I would absolutely just pass out and die.
Well, that's Tony Barbarino. I found Tony.
Worst fear is snakes. You put me in a coffin full of snakes, and I'm done. I'm passed out. I'm moving on to the next part of the world. It's I'm out.
Everybody was asking me last week, like, where's Tony Barbarino? And I said, I found him. Yep, that was Tony. Yep. He was base jumping. That's why he couldn't be in the newsroom, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're streaming live on the RU Nation Network. If you don't know what RU Nation is, go over and check out runation.com. A bunch of awesome folks are going to be joining the whole network, bringing real estate education from many different dynamics to you. But Real Estate America's Newsroom is there, streaming on the network. We go live at high noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Nick, why should people go ahead and even think about watching us? Like, why is that even a good or bad idea?
If you're in the real estate space, mortgage, broker, sales associate, whatever, we're pulling together the best in the business, and we're creating all these new shows for you guys to consume. to keep you on top of your game. For Real Estate America News specifically, this is a conglomerate of all different markets across all the country. We are getting people in market to come on and give us the real deal, what's going on, boots on the ground, while we cover, news worldwide. So we're basically taking the news that your consumers are seeing, digesting it down into bite-sized chunks or segments. So you guys are armed with all the information. So when you go out in the field and you talk to people, you know exactly what's on their mind, what they're thinking, what mainstream news is saying, and the scripts and objections really to handle it, right? That's why we have professionals on the show, real estate agents, brokers, and ourselves to really give you guys a competing edge. And so we do this all. We're spending a lot of time. We just ask that you subscribe, that you watch, that you consume, and that you share the show, because this is all for you guys.
Wait, Nick, do the bell thing.
Tickle that bell.
Yeah. If you see a bell on your screen, somebody better do what with it, Nick?
Smash it. At least tickle it.
Smash the bell without hurting your electronic device for us.
Yeah.
And
we're not liable. If you break your computer, don't go to
liability disclaimer. Real Estate America's Newsroom is not liable for your electronic devices when we ask you to smash the bell.
That's right.
If you don't like us, tell us, and please comment. We'll bring your comments up here on the show, and we're going to go ahead and comment on them. Okay, so Nick, let's go ahead and get into the news. We had enough fun here in the opener. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. 33% of homes purchased in January were done so by investors in the United States of America. Let's go ahead and take a look at a news clip here. Looks like we have some folks out of Indiana that are struggling to go ahead and purchase a home because investors keep bidding them out. Here we go.
For years, John and Angie Collier saved.
Oh, this is nice.
Eager to buy a first home in Fishers, Indiana, attracted by the good schools and proximity to work. But pursuing the American dream has proved daunting.
Oh, sorry, outbid.
Fishers, named by Money Magazine one of the best places to live, is part of a national trend as real estate investment groups buy up houses in cash and rent them out, in some cases, to the very families who dreamed of owning them. In January, 33% of all homes purchased in the U.S. were bought by investors, often Wall Street-backed companies with multi-billion-dollar funds. The Colliers currently rent in a town near Fishers from one of the nation's biggest house rental companies. Their rent recently raised 8%.
Good to see you. Come on in.
4 times in recent weeks, they've been outbid by investors with all cash offers.
It can be, discouraging when you get overbid by, companies.
How do you save when you're spending $2,200 a month just to rent?
So these companies have you on both ends.
Yeah, it's definitely a conundrum.
In some Fishers neighborhoods, investors own more than half of the homes, according to realtor Laura Turner.
This is one of the neighborhoods that investors have really targeted. They're coming in, they're buying it at cash, and then they're going to hold them as rentals.
Fishers Mayor Scott Fadness is frustrated by the surge of distant, faceless landlords.
Have you been able to talk to any of these companies?
It's very difficult. So take, for instance, if you have a high grass and weed issue, a code enforcement issue. If they own 4,000 homes, who is the individual that you can go talk to about a specific problem?
In a statement, the National Rental Home Council said NRHC member companies own just a fraction of the homes throughout the state of Indiana, and that its 5 largest member companies maintain an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. Builder Steve Lanes argues rental companies aren't taking away possibilities from families, but in many cases, creating them.
There are a segment of people who are no longer able to buy a home because they can't afford that home, but they don't want to be in an apartment. They're looking for those opportunities to rent in those communities.
After getting outbid time and again, the Colliers say they've given up on Fishers.
Is the American dream still accessible?
I think the American dream is changing. Our society may be going in that direction where we are getting further away from ownership, but I don't think it's the right direction.
I love the screened-in porch.
They've put in a bid on a home in a town farther out, their American dream modified, not broken. Antonia Hilton, NBC News, Fishers, Indiana.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today.
All right. Interesting. So, half of that community was purchased by investors. People were getting bid out. 33%, so says that report, of homes in the United States of America were purchased by investors. So maybe there's an inventory situation due to some of this. Tim, what say you?
Well, I'm always suspicious of what comes out of the big box news information. So, for me, I mean, we've talked about investors having a play in this market, possibly, you know, inventory drying up as a result, whether it's big conglomerate investors or mom and pops and collectively. But to me, it seems like there's a narrative. The more the mainstream pushes this, there's a narrative being pushed that it's the investors that are the bad guys in this whole thing, and rather than there being some other entity or reason for what's going on. So anyway, I mean, investors are part of the reason we can take subpar homes that need a lot of work and get them back to market. And there's jobs that are created from that. These homes are now livable. Families want to buy them, so they serve a purpose. I obviously the big conglomerates, the big boys out there, I don't know what percentage that they affect the markets, but it would be a curious question to answer. And how does that affect the greater population of buyers out there?
Mr. Kirk, you've got some interesting reports from behind the scenes. Break that down for us.
Yeah, well, nationally, investors own about 2% of the housing stock. So, if they're buying 33% in January, and I saw it also for about 33% back in December of 2021. So say they're buying a third of the homes. And I tend to agree with what the news report said, that these investors are providing stability for these communities. And in Fisher, Indiana, which is about 100,000 people and about 30,000 homes for sale, or not for sale, but 30,000 homes in that community. I think it's not a bad deal that the investors are coming in and supporting that community and making sure it's there. Also, I'd like to see a breakout. Most investors in the United States that are buying single family residence properties or even condominiums are mom and pops. They're small families like yours or mine that maybe have one property, and maybe they're adding a second property to get ready for their retirement. Because unfortunately, the majority of Americans, have 50 years old, had $50,000 or less in savings for retirement. So putting money into a piece of real estate is probably not a bad move right now.
So what we're suggesting here is that maybe in December and January was just the ideal time to purchase from an investment standpoint.
Could be. I mean, tax season comes up in December, right? People start making moves at the end of the year to get ready for the April tax filings. So all kinds of reasons why investors, I think, would be buying, but I'm pretty sure it's not your big box institutions that are coming up America and making it hard for people to live.
Understood. Nick, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I like what Kurt has to say. I was also pre-show, we were kind of talking about this. I saw an article from one of the biggest investment firms. They were talking about what they track as year over year or month over month average rents paid on time. I forget what they called it. They had a name for it. But they're already starting to see a decrease month over month. So on average, 95% of their portfolio in renters will pay on time, meaning the month that the rent is due. Last month alone, they saw a 10% decrease. So meaning 10%. So at 85% now of people are paying 1 month late inside their entire portfolio. So the interesting thought process behind that, like everybody's waiting for a 2008 crash. Everybody's waiting for the mortgage and all of these, the recession to start with REOs or foreclosures. But what could end up happening, what could spur this whole, as far as glut of inventory, is these larger investment firms, even though it's not a lot in globally, like as far as the whole country, it's less than 3%, but it does represent thousands of properties. And if on the books they're starting to see a huge loss, or month over month people aren't paying their rents, they might start letting go of some of these properties, and we might see a lot more of this inventory come in the market from renters, not necessarily individual homeowners that couldn't pay their individual mortgage, but maybe these big conglomerates start letting go some inventory because they can't sustain rents not being paid for 2 or 3 months at a time.
Mr. Paul, North Carolina, beautiful state. And thanks for joining us today, Mr. Paul. We love you here on the newsroom. Break this down for us. What say you regarding the investment side of the house?
Okay, so after watching the clip and doing my mathematical numbers, I'll tell you what I see and what I think. If you take $1 million and times it by 33%, you're going to get $330,000. That is the average home here in the Triad. Okay. And you can say that throughout North Carolina for the average sale. So that is 1/3 or 1/4, if you, depending on where you want to put that in the ballpark, in the area for investors. I know personally, I have lost buyers, and I've worked very hard, and every agent has, to investors out buying properties. Now, is it like what Captain Kirk said about purchasing their mom and pop investors? They probably are, and there's big corporations as well mixed into that. I believe that this has always been an issue in the real estate business. However, there has been such a large amount of inventory on the market to where those, I call them sharks, by the way, those sharks don't swim over into our waters. And we, as residential real estate agents who want to provide home ownership to a family or people in North Carolina, in the United States, right? But I'm representing North Carolina here. Now the pool has gotten smaller. And I mean, we used to have 6,000 to 7,000 homes on inventory. Today we have 1944. That was a good year too, by the way. We won the Second World War. But so that's where we're at here. So are investors providing home ownership for people that can afford it? Well, I mean, maybe at their point of view, but you know what? They work hard too. And they should be able to afford their own house. That's my personal opinion.
Tony Barbarino, Southern California, are investors playing in your waters?
Well, that's going to be local. As they say, all real estate is local technically. And as anyone can find out easily on a Google search, a lot of investors, many of them actually, will buy property sight unseen as long as the math works. So, hence you're getting these quote unquote faceless landlords. Now, that's fine. People with money, whether it's a business or person, they have a right to buy something and rent it out or flip it or purchase it outright. That being said, in my particular area, Orange County, based on some of the reports, depending who you believe, the casual average price is $1 million. And in Irvine, California, where I live and my office is located, that can probably buy you a broom closet. So I haven't seen, nor have I heard or even researched any investors actually buying in my area, like Newport Beach, Irvine, Lake Forest, Tustin Ranch, for example, because the price points are just very high. So while it probably happens in many other parts of the country, no doubt that's been happening all the time at different orders of magnitude. It could be, just to kind of take a different angle on this, it could be just that the investors, these big institutions, more of them are making more purchases, and 6 months from now, I'm guessing we're probably not going to hear about it anymore. And they're still buying properties just like everybody else is. Just like we have the really hot market for the consumers, these residential sales. You heard about it, you heard about it, you heard about it. Now you're hearing, oh, it's cooling off. Well, maybe now it's the investors' turn, and there's more of us than there are of them in terms of people versus companies. So once they buy up what they buy up, I'm sure at some point they're going to slow down, and the consumers are probably going to start, taking advantage of it. It's all about the location where you are, if a price point works for you. And yeah, the mainstream media, they're not all bad, but if there's a story to sensationalize a little bit, I'm suspicious that's part of what this is, because they've always been buying and selling. Look at Bill Gates. He's always been buying stuff, and now suddenly he's in the news because of a specific story.
Mark, you're the world's favorite appraiser.
Wow.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, at least here on the Real Estate America's News. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mark Buehler, the world's most favorite appraiser. Break this down for us. What say you?
Yeah, I'm in Southern California here with Tony, also in Orange County. On the residential side, it's true we don't see a lot of investment. As an appraiser, what I see when a purchase transaction is for a non-owner occupied purpose, they would order the rental survey along with it. So residential, not seeing a lot of institutional or even small investors coming in here, because the numbers really don't make that much sense when the average median price of the median type home is $1 million. That rent, it really doesn't make that much sense. But on the commercial side, we are starting to see some investors buy apartment buildings here. And what I read is the local companies here that are investment companies for real estate, they're buying in places like Las Vegas and in Phoenix, and they're buying big apartment buildings because they can grab them at, $400,000 or $500,000 a door, whereas here it's just not possible. So,
Speaking about Phoenix and Las Vegas, I saw a report in Fortune that said those markets are more than 50% inflated.
Well, there's definitely some areas that are poised to experience the bubble sensation, and it's the likely suspects of the places that we talked about earlier that had gone up so radically in price, where all of the Californians went to. Hello, Austin, Boise, and Tampa. So I don't know. Nick could speak to Tampa if they are considered overvalued or poised for price decline.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Mark. Tim, I have a question for you. So as it becomes harder for people to go ahead and obtain a mortgage, obviously they can't go ahead and purchase the homes that they once could last year. Investors are coming in. Most of them don't need a mortgage, especially if they're backed by Wall Street. So they're not affected by the high interest rates of borrowing, but they can provide that place as a rental opportunity for you. What say you?
Well, I mean, the question in there, what's the specific question to that? I mean, I agree with everything you just said.
Things around, Tim. You've got a lot to say. Go for it.
Okay. So here's, like I said, Wall Street's got to get their money out of Wall Street. Okay. They have a beat on the market that we don't have as the common consumer and the common player in the markets. Okay. And most people throw their money into a 401k and they just don't think about it, and they have no idea what's going on until the market starts hitting them negatively. But if you're the actual market mover, you have a pretty good idea what's coming. So you could be preemptive with that money and start moving it out of that market so that it's not rattling any cages. It's not alarming anybody. And so I believe this has been happening for the past few years. And so this is where I come back to, if I needed to get my money out of something that was hedged and wasn't as volatile as the market is right now, then I would go to a hard asset. I would go in, and what hard asset can hold that much value, in smaller packages? And I mean, it's not like they can move it straight to silver and gold. They got to buy real estate. It's the only move that makes any sense at all. So, as far as the big players, that's what they're doing. That is why they're doing it. The question I have is, at what point do they liquidate? And how does that liquidation of those assets affect the overall markets? I don't know the answer, but I can say that it might allow for buyers to have an opportunity again. But then I think the short term is for the people that buy now. They may be upside down on equity, but not the people who bought 5 years ago. So a lot of this is not crystal ball. Like we don't know what's going to happen. We can speculate. But that's where I said is they got to get their money somewhere. This just makes the most sense.
Thank you, Tim. Ladies and gentlemen that are watching, share your comments here. We're curious to see what your thoughts are. What are these investors doing? Let us know. Nick, so there's been some signs of the housing market starting to cool. And since we have so many awesome professionals from Southern California on the show, let's go ahead and tune into the San Diego and Los Angeles market and see what's going on down there.
Tonight, stats home buyers have been hoping for. New data shows the super hot, super pricey real estate market may finally be cooling off and slowing down. KCAL9's Jake Reiner is live in Marina Del Rey to tell us all about it. Jake?
Hey there, Pat. We know that the housing market in Southern California has been wild for years. Skyrocketing prices, bidding wars, even fixer-uppers selling for $100,000 over asking price. But tonight, we're learning the number of homes sold last month in our area dropped, the worst drop in decades, and that actually could be good news for buyers. It's been a seller's market for years, but fresh numbers out Wednesday paint a picture that the tide may be turning. According to a new report from CoreLogic, Southern California home sales are down 16% from May last year versus this year. That accounts for the fewest sales in May in 34 years.
So what they're saying is the actual number of sales are down year over year. And part of that is, there was a lot of pent-up demand over the last few years, and low interest rates really drove that.
Jesse Weinberg of Jesse Weinberg and Associates has been in the real estate game for close to 20 years. His company has a large market share of the Silicon Beach area.
There's an affordability piece that we're seeing. The increase in rates over the last few months has affected what people can afford.
CoreLogic is also reporting the median monthly payment on homes purchased in 2022 is 40% higher than homes purchased in 2021, and they say that's due to high home prices and mortgage rates.
People are worried about how raising rates will affect prices, because typically if you increase the cost of the money to borrow it, that will affect prices, and prices will typically come down.
Weinberg says one of the biggest challenges is finding properties to buy. The buyers, however, are there, and when they find something they like,
any good property is selling for top dollar quickly. That is still happening.
And here's another sign that the market may be cooling. The Redfin brokerage firm reports around 20% of all homes listed in Southern California had at least one price cut in May. That's triple the number that did a year ago. Reporting live in Marina Del Rey, I'm Jake Reiner, KCAL 9 News.
Thanks so much, Jake. Now coming up, a California gas station.
All right. Wait, did they say something about California gas? I heard people were going across the border into Mexico to go ahead and get cheaper gas. Did you hear that, Nick?
Have you seen there's all kinds of videos of people filling up weird containers and trying to travel with it, and going from one place to another to try to save 50 cents, but open container spilling out of their car, just ridiculous.
I don't know. All of this stuff that's going on right now kind of makes me feel like people are just blindfolded waiting to get smacked in the face. Maybe kind of like this. Jeez, that happened. Apparently, the kids are tying water bottles to fans.
Yeah,
and
we didn't see it coming, did we?
I did not know. All right, let's go ahead and find out what's going on in California. Mr. Tony Barbarino, Mark Bueller, you guys are right in the heat of the night down in Southern California. What say you? What's going on? Mark, take it away.
Well, first off, I was thinking about filling up the swimming pool with gasoline, just to save it for later if the price.
You should have done that when the oil prices were at zero.
Yeah, so we just siphon it off a little bit and fill up the car. But our market here has shown signs of cooling off and slowing. And translation, it's gone from being completely insane to just a strong seller's market at this point. We are not experiencing price declines. We are seeing more price reductions, less multiple crazy multiple offers. Instead of getting 30 offers on a house, now realtors might be getting 3. I don't think that the buyers here are currently up to what they used to be doing as far as paying over contract and removing all the contingencies for inspections and appraisal and financing. So we're starting to see the inventory increase, and demand is waning a little bit. People here don't want to move because the alternative is to go find something that's hard to get your offer accepted. Taxes. You're going to experience a wild increase in property taxes, so your bottom line payment is going to go up.
Break it down for us, Tony. You're on the front lines.
Oh, yeah. I did my homework before the show, and I want to give you guys some data. Real quick, fun fact, CoreLogic, where that information's from that you just seen, played by Jake, they're right here in Irvine. I may want to take my notes and walk over there and see how they got their numbers. I did see the 16% reduction year over year from May to May. However, let me give you guys some real facts here that I did this morning. And I'm going to give you information from April to May because those 2 months are complete and June is still crunching right now. So Los Angeles, and I'll make this quick and simple. I'm not going to give you precise numbers. It'll take too long. April to May, Los Angeles County, all home sales, up approximately, active listings are up about 14%. So we have about 10,200 homes. That's up from 8,000. Orange County is up 23% with active listings. So we went from 3,100 roughly to 3,800 homes. So we are seeing an increase in inventory in general based on the numbers. And then closed sales, which is a great indicator how the market is, actual completed sales, they close escrow. We're looking at Los Angeles County, we're just down 7% from around 5,900 homes down to 5,500 homes. And then on Orange County, a little smaller, we're down 1.7% from 2,500-ish to around 2,520 homes. So it's a really small change. So in summary, there is, in fact, at the time of this recording right now, we're up a little bit on inventory in Los Angeles and Orange County. However, the number of closed sales, just for now, are down a little bit. Now, take that as you wish, but that's where things were, looking in the rearview mirror, so to speak. Now, does that mean there's a problem? Well, from what I see, based on the numbers of CoreLogic, as Mark just said, we're not seeing a whole hell of a lot of offers. The listing I have that I had to take over to help another company out, we had 4 weeks ago, no showings. 3 weeks ago, a couple. 2 weeks ago, almost every other day. And in the last 5 days, I've had a showing almost every day. And last night we got an offer, one. But it's a good offer. So I'm personally seeing the reduced activity like Mark just said. I'm also seeing the numbers. To me, they're not looking like any kind of a problem right now. However, if you look at condos only, or single family only, or areas of Los Angeles or Orange County, of course the numbers will adjust because all real estate is local and sometimes hyper-local, and the numbers show that on my end.
Mr. Kirk, you control one of the most powerful lending groups moving products into California. What do you see regarding this?
Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of reductions in prices. Having said that, looking at the numbers going into the summer months, historically, you would see reductions in a normal market. Right now, it's about 26% of homes are taking a price reduction. Normal, stable market would be about 32% of homes taking a price reduction at this time of the year. So we're still in a very stable market. I like what Mark said. It's still a seller's market. It's just slowing down from, really hot. So I look at this and I say, yeah, it's the pendulum swings, right? Prices go up, prices go down, but over time, and especially going into a time of recession, we expect that home prices will continue to stay stable and increase.
Understood. Thank you very much. Nick.
Yes, sir.
Those were some pretty professional thoughts from those folks. What say you on this matter?
We only have the best on the show, my friend, right?
Yeah.
I do think so. Going back to, we talk a lot about a psychology on this show. I talk a lot about sales and how to up your salesmanship, right? So the whole reason why you'd watch a show like this, the whole reason why you follow national news is to get a sentiment, right? What is a sentiment right now in the news? If you're an average consumer and you're not in the real estate business right now, you're watching news, and in your mind, all you're hearing about is recession and cooling, and you're licking your chops and saying, man, this is going to be like 2008 again, and I'm going to get a huge deal. And we should just wait 6 months because housing is going to go down 30-40%, and we'll finally be able to afford that house. This is not the case. Now, none of us have a crystal ball, so all we can go off of is data. So all the data that you guys heard just now, use that in your quiver, if you will, when you're talking to people and they come to you and say, well, I heard we're in a recession, and I heard that, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait for housing prices to go down 30%, and I'm going to wait to get that tremendous deal. Nothing indicates that. We're not seeing anything like that. We're not seeing, we might see a slowdown of housing prices, but we're not going to see a 30% sharp decline. So if you're on the sidelines, and if you're talking to your consumer, make sure you bring data and facts and take emotion out of it, and be a good steward of the real estate industry, and make sure you let them know that you might be waiting a long time if you're waiting for housing prices to go down 30%.
Tim, a lot of this has to do with consumer confidence. right? You recently ran a report in your neck of the woods and surveyed a whole bunch of wonderful Texans. God bless Texas. And did you like how I threw that in there, Nick?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Texas folks are
Little fluffer.
serious, right? So, what are the consumers saying as far as confidence? Tim, tell us about your poll that Patriot Wealth Nation ran.
Yeah, I just wanted to get an idea where the general consensus was. So I just threw out a simple question. The question was, yes or no, are you worried about a further market collapse? Okay. What I found was about 6 out of 10 or 3 out of 5 people said absolutely, right? Even though someone put no, a lot of people would qualify their comments because maybe they don't have enough money to actually worry about a market collapse, right? Or maybe their finances are such that they're not worried about the market collapse. But the fact that 3 out of 5 people right now in Texas, which is a strong economic state, are worried about that is enough information for me to know that these are the same people who will be buying houses. These are the same people who will be selling houses and making decisions, big decisions with their money. And if 3 out of 5 people are absolutely worried about that, you best believe that's going to affect the markets. That's real estate markets and other markets as well. So, what to do with that is your business, but it gave me insight to know that this is for the people that I'm talking to. It's a nice bit of information to know.
And how many people in total were polled?
So I sent it out just because I did it on an application. It went to about 7,000 people. Only about 200 responded. But I mean, 200 for a data set to get 3 out of 5 for that kind of response is pretty fair.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Tim. I don't know, Nick. I've got a feeling like maybe we should do some emergency flare training. Like this is, I think, what consumers are feeling these days.
Good and strong. And now, yep. Just yank it. Perfect. Nice. That one I can. Woo!
Nice.
Okay.
I've never pulled a flare. I had them on my boat when I had a boat, but I never had to use it.
Yeah. Well, so if you are starting to get unconfident and have to send up a flare, make sure you wear your safety glasses, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, for sure.
That's
And
important.
it's 4th of July. There's gonna be a lot of shenanigans coming up. So
it is. Yeah. It is 4th of July coming up. That's interesting. So, you know what? Let's get into mortgage and appraiser news with Captain Kirk Jaffe and Mark Bueller. But let's check in with CNBC. I think a lot of people are, according to them, starting to look at facing foreclosure. Here we go.
It was just over a decade ago that the housing market collapsed. Prices plunged and millions of homes went into foreclosure. Are we in for a repeat? That question is starting to be asked. Diana Olick joins us right now with more. What do you think, Diana?
Well, Becky, I think the short answer is no, but there are some red flags. So I want to show you a whole lot of data to make the point, a whole lot of stats, all from Black Knight. For the 53.5 million first lien home mortgages in America today, the average borrower credit score is a record high, 751. It was below 700 back in 2010. And thanks to the run-up in home prices, those borrowers have record tappable equity, and that's how much you can take out of your home and still leave 20% equity in it. $11 trillion in total, up 34% from a year ago. Really record low mortgage leverage today. So that's a significant cushion in case home prices soften or even fall. Very little negative equity today, as opposed to 1 in 4 who are underwater back then. So what about the riskier loans? Well, there are just 2.5 million adjustable rate mortgages outstanding today. Compare that to 13 million in 2007, just before the subprime crash. Today, 1.4 million of those are facing rate resets higher. And yes, those are at risk. But back then, about 10 million of those were facing resets. Mortgage delinquencies are at a record low now, just under 3% of mortgages currently past due. And even with that jump in delinquencies during the first year of the pandemic, there are currently fewer past due mortgages than there were before the pandemic. There are still about 300,000 borrowers who have exhausted pandemic-related forbearance programs and are still delinquent. That's one to watch. The real risk, though, to housing right now is recession. If people start to lose their jobs and then they can't make the payments. Becky?
Yeah, Diana, all of those statistics make you feel a little better when you compare the now versus then. I think the bigger question still is, what about new buyers, first-time home buyers who are trying to get into this, somebody who doesn't have a home that they own right now that they can trade in for it? You can stay in your home if you've got one at this point, but trying to get in at a higher mortgage rate means affordability is just going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah, affordability is the real risk to the overall housing market right now, because even though we have these higher rates, which is slowing sales, there's still demand out there and still record low supply. So we have not seen those prices come down yet. We do expect to see them ease up a little bit. But the issue is, if you own a home and you can't move up, you're not going to want to sell it. If you want to buy a home, you're going to stretch, and that puts risk into the market as well. And then there's the question of those who bought in the last year, who might have bought at the top of the market, and then they have issues, or during the recession, any financial stress. That could be another one to watch, Becky.
Interesting. So, Miss Olick said a lot there. Kirk, break it down for us.
Yeah, it is tougher to own a home right now. We are concerned that if there's a bad recession and unemployment gets out of control, that would definitely swing the markets, I think. But I'm still not a big fan of the sky is falling, that we see in the media. It takes a lot of what people should be doing is planning ahead, really looking at their budgets, working with their professional teams, figuring out how to make it work. Diana Olick did say something interesting, I thought, which is the real estate markets are really based on the entry-level homeowner, because if somebody buys an entry-level home, the person that sells it moves up to their next dream home, and the cycle goes on and on. But since there's nowhere to go right now between the tax issues for a lot of folks, because there's so much equity in their homes these days, and because there's just nowhere to go with the interest rates being higher and the cost of homes being higher, those higher end homes are not moving, and there's no inventory in the low end for first-time home buyers. And that's kind of why the market is stuck right now. That's why we have low inventory. So hopefully the builders will keep building, and they'll get that low-level inventory back online and let people start getting back into homes. As far as not being able to afford their mortgage, I mean, we see it now over and over again. The government will more than likely step in and backstop, anyone that ends up, if the country ends up in a really bad problem, I would imagine that we would see another backstop from the government. Why not? They've only done it the last 2 times it's happened, so they're creating a trend.
Nick, what say you?
I love what Kurt said, because that's exactly where we're at. So that's where I'm at personally in Tampa Bay, but I see it a lot also, is the move up home is gone, right? So forget the first time home buyer. Like, there's 2 categories. Normally in a tight market, it would be like one specific category. So you might have first time home buyers. You might have people sitting in their houses a little bit longer, so length of time of ownership might be a little bit higher. Like right now, we've missed an entire bracket of we're having to step over like 2 brackets of home. So if you have a $400,000 house, you would normally move up to like maybe a $500,000 house. That's completely gone. That $500,000 house is now $750,000, $800,000 in Tampa, even $1 million. So like you're completely stuck, and that's why from all angles right now is a really tough time. Is the sky falling in because of adjustable rate mortgages? No, like they said, the risk tolerance of mortgage brokers and what it took to get a loan the past 5 years has been very, very low tolerance on their side, and very, very difficult for a borrower to get a loan. So they've tightened that belt a lot. It's not going to be like it was. We're just missing pricing categories right now of inventory.
Mark?
I'm curious to see too what happens with the credit score that she described. Right now consumer debt is increasing, and with short-term interest rates going up as well with the Fed, it's going to get harder to cover those payments as well. So I would expect that credit score will start to drop back down.
Well, plus from a data set, if you're talking about a pool, like of course an average credit score would be higher right now because everybody's pulling money out. They have equity. So if you that's the best thing to do if you have a good credit score, is to just refinance, cash out, and get some money. So that's skewed in my opinion, because there's more people with good credit applying in this time that we're in right now than an average, run of the mill market, where you might get some 650 credit scores or 620s or whatever more often.
And those credit scores obviously are dropping a lot for home or for consumers in the United States of America because people are carrying a little bit more credit card debt.
Yeah.
Because of inflation. So
Exactly.
might not be risky, so to speak, but maybe they just have a higher debt ratio, and some of those things are skewed a little. So interesting. Mark, break it down for us. What say you?
Well, the question posed to Diana was, are we in for a repeat of the last foreclosure market? And she answered, I agree with the way she answered it. And the reason why we're not poised for another foreclosure market is because of all the equity that people have gained through the past couple of years. Any borrower who runs into a financial issue and is unable to pay their mortgage, now the option is not to refinance and get a low rate and lower your payment. Unfortunately, that's not an option at this point. But the other option, it's not as appetizing because we talked about people selling and not selling and the reasons why. Anybody who's running into a problem, you throw your house up on the market, it's going to sell pretty quickly and you are going to have equity. The question is, where do you go? And Kirk has said this before, that when he qualifies a borrower, he's going to qualify them at a 15-year rate and see how they feel about that, how comfortable they are with that, and then kind of ratchet it down from there. So I think at this point, another nice point that they brought up there is back in 2007, we had so many adjustable rate mortgages. Well, lending has tightened up. They were making loans to anybody back then that could fog a mirror. Now it seems like the ratio is about the same as far as adjustable arms that are out there the mortgage or the interest rate is going to reset at a higher rate, obviously, but it still trails the conventional fixed rate. So I think that could cause some problems for people that are on a fixed income, in addition to everything else costing more. Now their mortgage costs more, but I don't think they're going to get foreclosed on. They just might be forced to sell their home.
Tim, so interesting. It seems like the housing market is coming to a stable, normalized kind of a scenario if we're looking at statistics just in the housing market. However, that report went ahead and said, if inflation and a recession happens and things continue to go downhill, obviously outside of the housing market, then it's going to affect the housing market. What say you?
I say that's been my cry this whole time is, if we isolate the data on the housing market on its own, there's nothing that suggests that this housing market is going anywhere else but up. Okay. And so that's why for me, I can't isolate it because there's too many outliers, too many factors that affect people's bottom line. I mean, you're talking about people had a hard time saving 10%, on top of whatever they would put into some sort of retirement account that wasn't ever enough in the beginning. And gas prices have gone up more than that. And food has gone up more than that. And they're getting hit from so many different angles that, it's absolutely going to affect the, what I call the everything bubble, the everything markets. And, does that mean that we have a total collapse of a housing market? No, I don't necessarily believe that. Especially compared to 2008, because the conditions are completely different. Will we go back to a more stabilized market where you can actually bid on houses and see more than one house without having to sprint through it and write an offer when you're done immediately on the kitchen counter? No, I think we'll get back to that point. And how that affects the overall prices, I don't know. But I don't think that we're going to have a complete and total collapse of the real estate market. In fact, I think of all the markets, I think it'll be the one that holds stronger than others. But I also think that it gets affected absolutely because of all the outlying conditions.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim makes a great point there. I was reading a report a couple of days ago that in Congress, they're actually starting to chat about repealing the Dodd-Frank Act. Now, Dodd-Frank was put in place in 2009. And it's what created all these restrictions that led to higher credit scores, tighter underwriting, fewer products available in the marketplace, no pay option arm loans, things like that. If they repeal that law, then my opinions would start to change because it would be open season for, who knows what Wall Street would do if they didn't have those restrictions to follow.
Interesting. So they're going to unrestrict the normal American folks to go ahead and start borrowing without higher restrictions. And maybe that's just kind of a payback a little bit because they're spending a lot of our money anyway and sending it offshore. I don't know. Nick, what say you on this?
That would be very interesting. Yeah. So if Dodd-Frank got overturned and we loosened the belt a little bit, we would still have to go up. What's the percentage? We still have to have 12%, 15% more sketchy loans for it to be the same. What was that stat? I don't remember. Like how many more thousands of sketchy loans would have to be equal to what it was in 2007? Like we'd still have a long way to go, I think.
Oh yeah, you would. I mean, 2007 was really created by the derivative markets and, banks making money on top of money on top of money that never existed.
Right.
So once that whole thing kind of collapsed in on itself, that's where that problem came. I don't know what the percentages would be.
Yeah.
But, government wants people to own homes.
Right.
Ultimately, right.
Yeah.
So they do what they can to try and encourage that.
Well, there's a whole lot of mortgage brokers that have been making a lot of money on cash out refinances that are looking for another opportunity. So if that was loosened up a little bit, there'd be a mighty large workforce looking for another payday. So that would be interesting.
Good deal. Keep us in the know, Mr. Kirk. We appreciate it.
You got it.
Yep. All right, Nick, the millionaires of our country. The people that have a big old thick wallet. Like that are
that used to mean a lot of disposable income. It's not quite the same as it used to be, though, right?
I don't know, but according to this report, 20% of U.S. millionaires think inflation is going to last more than 2 years. That's disturbing. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say.
Here's a staggering stat. About 20% of millionaires think inflation will last at least 2 years, according to a recent CNBC survey. Robert Frank is here now with the data and how these folks are positioning their portfolios in response, Robert.
Well, Kelly, this group owns more than 85% of individually held stocks, so they can really impact markets. And for the first time, they cite inflation as the #1 threat to the economy. They also say inflation is the top risk to their personal wealth ahead of the stock market. Now, majorities say the economy is headed into a recession this year, or it's already in one. Most also say inflation will last at least a year or two, with 1 in 5 saying it's going to last more than 2 years. Now, they still have some faith in the Fed. Most are somewhat or very confident that the Fed is going to be able to manage inflation here, but this is political here. Democratic millionaires nearly twice as confident in the Fed than Republican millionaires. About half say the S&P is going to end the year down double digits, and for their portfolios, it's all about cash and fixed income right now. Nearly half say they have kept more money in cash because of inflation in the markets. Going forward, they plan to move more money into short-term fixed income. As for stocks, twice as many plan to buy stocks in the coming months rather than sell. So that's a good sign, but the overall allocation to the stocks still the lowest that we've seen, Kelly, in the 8 years that we've been doing this survey.
So it could be a headwind for the market as it tries to recover its footing here, Robert. It's also interesting to see them so bullish on owning fixed income, which has been one of the worst performing asset classes. Granted, you said very short duration, or you said short duration. Maybe it's very short duration where they're just happy to get some yield.
Exactly. They're happy to get that yield. And what's interesting, too, on your point about stocks and perhaps the silver lining or the not silver lining, usually, let's say back in March of 2020, they were the first to come in to see opportunities to buy. We're not seeing signs in this survey that they right now see that opportunity to buy, at least not yet.
All right. Very interesting. Robert Frank.
Was that Superman? That guy looked like Clark Kent.
Wait, was it?
I don't know.
And now, yep. Just yank them. Perfect. Nice. That one I woo!
That was him, I think. They called for him.
Wait a
Those
second.
big glasses and that suit. I don't know. It just seemed, I don't know.
Superman spoke, ladies and gentlemen. Superman spoke.
Get your cash together because it's going to be open season.
So,
the dollar.
Yeah, 80% of the stocks are held by this group that was polled. Quite interesting, Mr. Tim. What's going on with our millionaires? Tim, what say you?
Well, I think the millionaires can see through the BS. They didn't get there by, being lied to and believing the lies. My point is, Janet Yellen, what did she tell us not so many months ago that, inflation is transitory, and then kept saying it, and that was repeated by the media. And then all of a sudden, well, okay, it might be around a little longer than we thought. And now it's, we might actually be in a recession. And so, but it's not going to last that long. So here's actual millionaires, apparently a big chunk of them, who are saying, no, we're going to actually be in this thing a good amount of time. So I come back to, you got to be careful where you get your sources from or what you believe from those sources. I could pretty well, I could make a living just doing the opposite of what the mainstream media tells me to do, or tries to get me to believe, and kind of actually do.
Wait a second. That's a great idea. Okay, carry on.
Yes. So anyway, I come back to, yes, you've got the inflation is an issue. It ain't going away. I believe that we're already in a recession. They just haven't announced it to the people, so they don't know yet. I think the select few that actually pay attention and do the research understand what the heck's going on. But anyway, this is a real estate show. I'm the guy that brings in the other stuff that's not just real estate. And I'm on board with the 20% that think that this thing's going to last a few more years. I don't see how it doesn't. We got a lot of adjusting to do. But here's the thing: this is a market. Markets ebb and flow. They peak and valley. So to think that this thing just goes up nonstop would be ludicrous. It has to come down, and we are going through that period of time right now. I think the historical play on this thing is that we're dealing with an economic system that was basically set in motion the way that it is now in 1970, early 70s, if not 72, by us going off the gold standard under Nixon. And that established the debt-based economy that we are going through right now. And the only problem with the debt-based economy is the debt only gets bigger and that money becomes more expensive. And the only thing you can do is adjust rates up and down to try and control it. So we literally have an economic leviathan on our hands, not having to do with real estate, but real estate is, going to experience its own ebbs and flows because of what we're going through. So that's my miniature history lesson on what's going on.
I knew you were going to use the word Leviathan today. I love that. I love that. Tim, you educate people. You help more of the common folk do what the millionaires do. Tell us a little bit about Patriot Wealth Nation.
Yeah. So what we do, like I said, I took a poll to figure out where people's thoughts were on the markets. People are scared. They're scared because they don't know what to do. They know they're about to experience something similar to 2008. They're not wrong for that. They don't know where to go with their money to protect themselves. They don't know how to grow and build wealth on a compounded annual basis that's protected from market downside. And we educate on all of that. Everything we do is free. We just sit down, we talk to you, we come up with solutions that make sense for the individual. And so the cool part about what we do is it's education. We don't sell anything. We just educate. And through that education, we liberate people, and we're happy to do it.
How can people go ahead and get liberated with education?
That's right. They can contact me at tim@patriotwealthnation.com.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, he uses words like Leviathan and liberation and helps you with your assets and protects them. I love that guy. Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Tim. Paul, what are the millionaires doing? What do you think they're doing?
I think they're investing their money. Excuse me. And I believe they are. I think it's going to take it about 2 years or more for us to recover from the inflation. And I'm expecting to see hard times and higher interest rates. Millionaires, it's one thing to become a millionaire, Jake, and it's another thing to contain your wealth, to sustain to be a millionaire. A lot of people become millionaires and then they're broke right back on the streets. So it's a whole nother ball game. And I want to say that I believe the current millionaires are wise because they are sustaining. They're making sure that this is our numbers and we're going to make sure these numbers keep coming in. And I think they foresee a lot ahead. I do feel that there's going to be, I think interest rates are going to go up across the board. And we've already discussed this on the show many times. And again, back from my macroeconomics teacher, the only way you're going to control inflation is to raise interest rates. You've got to, the money that's out there, you've got to bring it back, tighten it back in. And I mean, that's my opinion, of course. And so opinions are like armpits, they say. Everyone has one and they stink.
Oh, jeez. Paul, how
PG
can
rated,
people
okay.
get in touch with you if they need representation in North Carolina?
You can call me directly on my mobile number, 336-963-3684, or you can find me on social media as Paul NC Realtor.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Tony, what are the millionaires doing? They're all buying homes in Southern California, aren't they?
Well, I'll see Tim's Leviathan terminology, and I'll raise you one with serpendipitus.
Oh,
So
interesting.
the serpendipitus. So in my investor pool, and anyone out there that's beyond my reach, find a really good agent and really strategize, because like I keep saying in almost every show, all real estate markets are mini or micro economics. So for example, and also borrow off of what Paul said, in my pool of investors, and all good real estate agents have a little pool of investors that they tap into for access to homes and data. University of Southern California, UC Irvine, for example, some of the investors in the last 2 years that have listened to me carefully and made a good decision about buying a rental for college kids to rent, because UC Irvine being an incredible school and highly desirable, and Irvine being one of the safest cities in the country, you have two things right there going for you. So when they buy rentals, I suggest considering a rental for college areas. And just about everybody on the show probably lives, near a college. And if you don't, you can still buy income property and collect those rents from those college students, because when people stop having children, then you might have a problem with your rental at college. So that being said, I do not see any shortage of kids going to college, and those kids are paying their rent because they need to go to school, and it's hard to go to school when you're living in your car. So not that I'm giving unsolicited advice, it's just for entertainment purposes. You may want to consider getting a rental by a college. And the investors who have millions of dollars, and that's fine. It's really just numbers. You never really own money. You're a steward of the money temporarily. And in many cases, the millionaires I talk to, not that I have all the millionaires, but all good agents have a few. We sit down and have those conversations about strategizing. And it just turned out serendipitously, when they pick up these really quote unquote stable income properties, which also have gone up greatly in value, another serendipitous moment, that now when the recession is happening, well, sorry, to borrow from Tim said, and I agree with him, I think we're in a recession. Like when gas went to $4, everybody went, ah! And now it's like, oh gosh, I wish it was 4 again. So we're going to get used to it. And when somebody in the government says, okay, we're in a recession, the rest of us are going to go, oh, well, nothing's changed right now. I guess we got used to it. And there's going to be less panic, and the mainstream media news is going to go on to something else. So out there, I would consider being careful with your money. And if you're wanting to be a millionaire, or you are one, you can have a conversation with me, because there are always good opportunities in any market. So when that pretend money, crypto, fell down, everybody cried, but it'll go back up. And in real estate, in my opinion, it seems to be the safest investment. You got something better, call me and I'll talk to you. But right now, I know what I do in my area, and I hope everybody out there is really careful. And even millionaires make mistakes and they lose money, but they also know how to come back, kind of like what Nick said a few minutes ago, something similar where, and Tim said it too, millionaires know how to come back, and the rest of us, we can get deals, but you have to be associated with good people, like all the people on this show.
Tony, how can people get in touch with you if they're looking for representation in Southern California?
Well, if you're looking for representation, like in Los Angeles and especially Orange County, they can always go to my website. All my information is right there. It's under Tony, TonyBabarino.com, and they can reach me through any of the systems in there, social media, text, phone calls. This is what I do all day, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. We appreciate you. Hey, Tim, Tony agreed with you. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I'm cherishing this moment. I will have a cocktail over. It's going to be delicious. But thank you, Tony. I appreciate that.
So, gentlemen, Bill Gates, that guy, Bill Gates. If some of you don't know who Bill Gates is, he's one of the most wealthiest people in the United States, right? And runs he does a lot of things. He like made a computer or two, right? But he's also
Something
a
like that,
farmer.
yeah.
I didn't know this. Nick, what do you think is going on with Bill Gates?
Man, we were chatting about this yesterday. And there's an old saying that says, "He who controls the food controls the people." I'm not saying that's what's happening. He could just be a very smart businessman and knowing that assets like land, especially farmland, will always go up in value, and he's just diversifying his portfolio. So I maybe give him the benefit of the doubt and not put on conspiracy hat. But yeah, it's really, really interesting to find out that that guy owns the most farmland in America.
Well, he and Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy, the guy that flew to outer space just recently in that thing, I mean rocket ship, he's also owning land. So let's check it out.
Bill Gates owns more land than all of the entire city of New York. Jeff Bezos' land is double the amount, clocking in at 420,000 acres. John Malone, the largest private landowner in America, owns 2.2 million acres all by himself, a landmass slightly smaller than the island of Puerto Rico. America is enormous, yet 100 of the richest and largest private landowners in America own 1.86% of all the land available in the United States, the majority of their land being forests, ranches, and farmland.
Some people like myself find farms beautiful and peaceful and a nice place to live.
Land is only getting more valuable. In the mid-1990s, farmland was valued at less than $1,500 an acre, adjusted for inflation. By 2020, that number had grown to $3,160 an acre.
It's expensive. So if somebody is desiring land, it is primarily people of wealth who can afford it.
Institutional capital is growing and it's becoming a bigger piece of the market. It's about a $3 trillion asset class when you look at the whole U.S.
However, not everyone is benefiting from the rise in farmland prices.
It's going to continue to be harder for farmers, for beginning farmers like myself. If prices continue to go up, everything's going up.
Land is critical, and it's the center of how we survive and persist as communities and as people. And farmland in the U.S. is something that we don't think about that often.
So why are the ultra wealthy investing in farmland? And what impact will it have on the agricultural industry?
What say you, Tim? What's going on?
Well, here's the deal. This again falls back on the same reason why you've got Wall Street money moving into real estate because of hard assets. It's a great place to store a lot of money. Well, when you're some of the richest people in the world, you're going to try and find the assets you can put the most money in to hold. So land, lots and lots of land, is going to be that asset. So that is my, keep it on point, keep it on topic response to that. I trust his actions about as far as I could throw him, but what he does of it from there, I do not know. But it does seem interesting that is a choice that he's making along with Bezos. These are not pro-America people, for the record. You can look at their actions. So that's for me where the cause for concern, the eyebrow raise comes from, as to what's the motive here beyond just sheltering wealth and money.
Kirk, I just think they like milking cows.
I mean, doesn't everyone like milking cows?
I want to have a milk off with Bill Gates.
Just the fact that you keep saying milk off is
that's like the sixth time this show, I think.
You're killing me with a milk off.
Listen, I come from the dairy land of Wisconsin, so
hey, I
milk
know
offs are very competitive.
You're a farm boy from back in the day. I know you are. We've had these conversations. In case anybody wants to know, Jake Wolf is the real deal. He definitely worked a ranch, and he knows how to milk several cattle, or cows, or whatever the heck it is that you do with them. See, I don't even know.
That's how strong.
Oh, Jake, let me tell you, you and I milked a few cows, but we don't talk about ladies like that. You know what I'm saying? No, just kidding. I love you, baby. I love you. You're a good farm boy.
Oh, jeez. See, I'm telling you, the farm animals are showing up for this segment. Kirk, take it down for us. Owning land.
Yeah, land banking is a concept that's been around for a long, long time. Bob Hope land banked just about everything from Toluca Lake all the way out to Thousand Oaks, decades ago, and became one of the wealthiest people in the country doing it. So I think that there probably is more to the story. Why do people land bank, hundreds of thousands of acres? I don't know, but I would be curious to see what the contracts look like. I'm sure there's some benefit. I mean, Bill Gates created the idea, or really promoted the idea, I should say, of giving away your wealth, right? So I bet there's something in that concept that land is supportive of, would be my guess.
Understood.
But I don't know why he's buying land like that otherwise.
Understood.
Yeah.
Find out if a real estate crash is coming with best-selling author on mortgage and real estate, Mr. Kirk Jaffe. Break this down for us.
Yeah. The 27th, which is next Monday at 9:00 Pacific time, I'm going to spend an hour or two going deep on all these analytical numbers. So if anyone, because on this show or anywhere else, we don't necessarily have hours to dig into the numbers and understand them, but we're going to do that. So if you're interested in knowing if the crash is really coming, what the analytics say from a variety of different sources, we're gonna spend some time talking about it.
All right.
If you want to register,
Monday the 27th at 9:00 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, and I can bring my favorite beverage and get educated.
Absolutely. Just email me at kirk@kirkjaffe.com if you want to register. The registration link will be up and active this afternoon.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, go check that out. I highly urge you to do so. And good. So let's bring in some other folks here. Mr. Tony, what say you on land banking?
Well, they're not making any more of it, as we've always, joked about, and it's also true. And to add to, who said that earlier? Was it Tim or Kirk? That even those Hollywood stars, even back in the day, like James Cagney, for those of you old enough to know who James Cagney is, down like in Laguna Niguel, there's an area of land there, a very beautiful little area, shopping center, owned by the Cagney Company, and it's James Cagney's family. So those Hollywood actors, way back when, they were famous and rich for their time, even they were buying land. So I don't put it past those mega multimillionaires to be, banking their money on land, because, there's going to be more and more people in this country. Food is going to become, needed. There's going to be technology that makes things so much more automated, and he who owns that land and buys that technology is going to be producing a lot of food. And I don't see producing food ever being an industry that's under a threat of loss, because people have to eat. So I think while I can't afford to do something like that, and probably a lot of us can't, on its surface, it actually seems like a really good strategy. It's been like that from Bob Hope getting rich. He's been on talk shows talking about land he bought. And just about everybody with wealth today probably has some really good financial advisors saying people got to eat food. There's a lot of land in the country. And trust me, I know, because I drove out here from New York City to Los Angeles a couple of decades ago. And next week, I'm taking my family on a journey from here to New York and back over 5 weeks. And trust me, I'm going to see firsthand all that land. So there's plenty of it. It's a matter of having the big bucks and being able to see the long game. Because a lot of businesses do try to build their businesses, like the McDonald's or Home Depot, on the fringes of cities where the land is plentiful and cheap. Now, in terms of the farmland, that's a longer play for maybe their future generational wealth. I think I can't see it not being a good idea. The only difference is how much control are they going to exert over the public when that time comes that we need their farmland to grow more food. So I'm just concerned about the consequences later. I'm not concerned about it right now because they're just buying it up at the moment.
Tony, have you ever milked a cow?
No, I haven't, but there is YouTube, so.
You're going to YouTube milk a cow. All right.
Be careful. That could take you down a rabbit hole.
I have milked a cow.
Okay, Paul's milked a cow.
I've milked a cow. I've milked goats. I've milked sheep. I grew up on a farm. and it's hard work. I'd love to see you go have a milk off with Bill
Milk
Gates,
you.
but I don't think his intention in buying all this land is to go milk the cows, and I think it's a
Yes,
lot
it
what
is.
Nick said.
Yes, it is. He wants to milk the cows. Mark, have you ever milked a cow?
I can't say that I have. I've never been a big fan of milk. So no, I'm a city boy, and I think that this is interesting that these, the top wealthiest people in the world are out there buying up farmland.
Because they like milking cows. Mark?
I mean, in addition to a vocabulary lesson, I've learned a lot here today. But they've done a great job of farming dollars, so I got to think that they know what they're doing here.
Kirk, have you ever milked a cow?
No, never milked a cow. I did dismantle a cow in culinary school. So
Whoa.
I butchered a cow from an entire side down to a steak.
I like that Kirk has been to culinary school. That's a newfound fact. I like that.
I spent 10 years in the restaurant industry.
I love that.
Wow.
So we can all agree as men that we've have milked things like mammary glands on creatures.
Tony, you gotta go in incognito mode, bro.
It's off the rails. Okay, so
turn on the VPN. Hide your IP address right now, immediately.
So I for the
Tim, have you milked a cow?
I grew up in West Texas, and that is so far west that by the time you get out there, you're close because all livestock is dead. Okay. It's not there. The coyotes are dead. Everything's dead. And then a few more hours, you hit my hometown. And if you've ever seen the movie or the TV show Friday Night Lights, that's where I grew up. Very big football area, Permian Basin. Not a pretty or attractive place, and certainly not known for cows. But I was a certified driller because that's what you did when you grew up in the oil field. So,
wow.
Nick, have you ever milked a cow?
Thank you for asking, Jake. No, I have not.
Okay,
but
Paul,
I'm not anti-milk. I'm very pro ice cream, unfortunately.
I got a question for Jake. When you were done milking cows, did you put iodine? Use iodine?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen that are watching, we're curious if you've ever milked a cow. So that's how we're going to end the show today, ladies and gentlemen. Kirk, why should people even watch us here?
We have fun, first of all. Second of all, we're giving a lot of good information, and we're helping the agents and the brokers that are watching improve their business. So where else can you get on the ground, live ideas about how to grow your business and get the information you need to control the consumer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Mark, do you think it's even smart to go ahead and watch us?
Absolutely. Beyond the real estate knowledge and all the wealth of information you can gain here, there's some sidebar comments that could just lift your spirits, to say the least.
Mark, how can people get in touch with you? You're the appraiser's appraiser and teach all appraisers appraising things.
Yes, you can. The best way for me is email. That's mark@cmpappraisal.com.
Outstanding. All right, gentlemen, thank you so very much for all of your commentary and your insight information and your big vocabulary today. It's been absolutely amazing. So we appreciate you guys and everything that you do for us here at Real Estate America's Newsroom. So, Nick, I can't believe you haven't milked a cow.
I challenge everybody listening to the show to go out there when you're speaking to your fellow prospective clients to throw in the "Have you milked a cow?" reference. I think that'll be a good icebreaker for you if you're prospecting, you're cold calling. Instead of saying, "Hi, my name's Nick Sakis with Keller Williams, and the reason for my call is I was wondering if you were thinking about putting your house up for sale again." How about you just start asking people if they've milked a cow before? Could break some ice. It could open the door, and then maybe you'll get a sales conversation in there.
Very cool. Nick, when do we do Real Estate America's News, and why should people tune in?
Every Tuesday and Thursday at high noon, as Sarge would like to say. And if you're not listening, you're missing out. I really think that, we are trying to bring as much information as possible to the real estate industry to arm you guys with everything that you need to hit the market and prosper. And so from here on out, just remember, you guys, whether we're in a recession or not, whether we're milking cows and having fun, Real estate is tangible. Everybody needs a place to live. You are in a great industry and in a great position to survive. And I just hope that your mindset is that way. So hang out with people who are like-minded like us that want to see everybody succeed. No matter what the market's doing, we can all prosper. And I hope you guys like the show and share it with all your friends.
Comment below if you've ever milked a cow. This is obviously an important topic to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you this Thursday at high noon Eastern, 0900 Pacific. Bring your favorite beverage because we're going to be breaking down the mainstream news for you. And we'll be back with all of our infamous co-hosts. Have a blessed and unstoppable day, ladies and gentlemen. Go to runation.com, enter your information for all of our show notes, and be blessed and unstoppable. Until next time.